Now finally this snow melt system is complete. It's filled up with glycol. Electronics are connected and tested. All the controls are working. The driveway is almost done. Only the little walkway part needs the paving. The manifold, we shall install a box over it and cover it back with soil, so it will be pretty much invisible. Now to check out the system, a couple of things to know about it. Now this is a 399,000 BTU per hour large neotherm boiler that is dedicated entirely to melt the snow on this driveway. Snow melt requires 150 BTU per hour per square foot, and since this is about 2300 square feet, multiply that by 150, you will reach about 330 BTU per hour heating requirement with a little bit headroom left, so the boiler won't go full out when starting up. There are two manifolds out there, and they have two pumps dedicated to it. The first manifold has 8 loops, 3/4 inch shark bite tubing, and that is powered by a ground faucet pump. To be exact, it's what is this? It's a 26 series pump, and the smaller manifold 4-loop is driven by a 15 series ground faucet pump. And the system is filled with glycol and water mix 50-50. That is good down to around minus 35-40 degrees Celsius, ensuring that even on the coldest days the glycol in the driveway, in the tubing and the manifolds won't turn into slush, which cannot be circulated. The control is a Tecmar snow melt control and a Taco 1-zone pump relay, switching relay, and this automates snow melt, sensing precipitation when it's cold. It will turn on the system and keep running it until the driveway is dry. There is a glycol makeup little feeder down here that ensures that the system is always topped up with glycol. There are no air bubbles in the system that would damage the pump and degrade the efficiency of the boiler. We're keeping the pressure at 15 psi. There is also an expansion tank that will absorb the expanding glycol when hot and reintroduce that absorbed glycol into the system when the system is turned off and the glycol contracts because it's cold. We obviously cannot test this system right now to its full potential because it's 30 degrees Celsius. But this nice Tecmar controller has a function that is called override, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna override the sensor, and the system will start up until I turn it off. If you look at the boiler, it's in standby. The central heat is on, and it will soon purge and fire. Right now it's not firing because the set points on this boiler calling for it to turn on when the outlet is 95 Fahrenheit. Right now the outlet is 111, so it's just circulating the water already in the boiler and in the hydraulic separator and in the loops, which are much warmer than the set point. So right now this system will not start on. Well, you can hardly blame it in plus 30 degrees. But the pumps are all circulating, the control is working, main pump is circulating, everything is running fine. So we can just turn this override off. The boiler pump will circulate for an additional 5 minutes because that's what it's set to. Okay, about this hydraulic separator, why do we have this big tank here? There's several functions on this tank. Number one is that should there be any leftover garbage in the pipes in the system, rocks, pebbles, pieces of solder from soldering, it will not be circulated indefinitely and eventually potentially clogging up the boiler's heat exchanger, but it will settle to the bottom of this tank when where we can just open this little valve and drain out the slush that accumulates on the bottom of this tank. Also there is a vice strainer that is basically a filter, also protecting the pump and the boiler from sediment to clog up the heat exchanger. Second function of this hydraulic separator is that it gets rid of the air. There's a little air vent on top of it, so any air trapped in the system that was not bled out will not keep circulating in the system and messing up the pumps. Also it has a little pressure gauge that shows us that the pressure is indeed 15 psi inside the system. Another function of this hydraulic separator is that it prevents thermal shock both for the concrete slab out there as well as the boiler's heat exchanger. What I mean about that is imagine that the hot water, it's 160 Fahrenheit, would just go straight out to the pipes and into the concrete. Now there would be, let's say, minus 10 degree concrete out there. You can easily see that 170 Fahrenheit temperature difference suddenly will cause some damage out in the slab. So what this hydraulic separator does is that it not only allows the hot liquid to go out to the pump, as the cold return is coming back, it mixes together a little bit with the outgoing hot water. So let's say it's 160 degrees, coming back 10 degrees, it gets a little bit circulated, so immediately it's like 100 degrees going out, not 160 degrees or 70 degrees water going out. And also going back to the boiler is not minus 10 degrees, but it's also about 60, 50 Fahrenheit liquid going back into the boiler. So the difference between this pipe and this pipe will not be 170 Fahrenheit, but only, let's say, about 100 or 80 Fahrenheit. So there is a whole lot less expansion and contraction on the two sides of the heat exchanger that's built into this boiler, and it will prolong the life of the boiler tremendously. So this is the reason why we're using the Schuler hydraulic separators. We have them different sizes, 1 out, 2 out, 3 outs, and this protects both the concrete slab as well as the boiler. So everything is working properly, and we just finished this project.